here. My name is Sister Sheila Kinsey. I am the campaign coordinator, and I am also the executive co-secretary of our Justice, Peace, Integrity of Creation Commission for both unions, USG and UISG. So this is a project that we really want every sister whose congregation is a member of UISG and the connections that they have with their institutions, family, wherever they are involved. This is an opportunity for them to make a difference in our care for the planet. And as you see here, this is the website for Sowing Hope for the Planet. And if you have not visited it, please do so. You will find much information that will be of help to you. And many good things are going on around the world with our sisters. So Pope Francis has underlined a fundamental connection that really exists, the environmental crisis and the social crisis that we're currently experiencing. And he really wants us to look at both a personal and a communal ecological conversion, because everything is interconnected. And so that's what we're trying to do with this campaign, is to find ways that we can relate to one another, to learn new things, to share wisdom, and to really look at the earth and those who are poor and see that these are one crisis together. So the title of this webinar is Attending to Ethical and Spiritual Roots. And this comes from number 9 in Laudato Si, which really is challenging us to look at how humanity, how we can make a difference, how we can be the change that we are asking of others. And the second part really comes from the preparatory document for the Synod, and it asks us as religious to look at how we are transforming contributions from our consecrated life and our charism. So raise up those qualities and be attentive to bringing those to wherever we are. So then, in attending to the ethical and spiritual roots of environmental problems, it's a time, as number 9 says, it's a way of loving. It's a way of gradually seeing the world and the needs of the world as God sees them. So we need to take time away to reflect on what it is that God sees in our world and what it is that we are all being called to do. Another area to attend to is to think about the asceticism, not only what giving up means, but also to give. So we may offer programs about ways of nourishing ourselves, of finding a way to blossom and grow, to deal with issues that are important to us, as well as environmental concerns that we have regarding pollution and things of that nature. So it's really being able to integrate those two things, learning to give, not simply to give up. So for today, this morning, this is kind of the agenda out of which we will be pursuing the next hour and a half. There'll be the opening prayer, which Father Felix will begin soon. There will be a sharing of the commitments that were made by the major superiors of UISG at their plenary, which was in May, and talking about the work of the constellations. In particular, the best practice that we want to highlight today is the interconnection between the constellation of Brazil and the one in Rome in preparation for the Synod for the Amazon. We'll look at the support of USG, which is the men's leadership group, and then we'll have updates from the Global Catholic Climate Movement, which is our collaborating partner. And they always have something good to share with us. So as a way then to begin, I ask Father Felix, who is the executive co-secretary in the office of JPIC, the commission for both the two unions, to begin with us the prayer that will help give us a frame of mind in order to begin this sharing session for us. So Father Felix, please.
Good morning, everybody. The prayer that I have prepared is prayer on the new act of mercy. It's taken from Pope Francis' message, Show Mercy to Our Common Home, the first message for the World Day of Prayer for the Care of Creation in 2016. The prayer leads us to consider a new act of mercy. Sisters and brothers who have joined us in this webinar, God gives us the earth to till and to keep in a balanced and respectful way. To till too much, to keep too little is to sin. For human beings to destroy the biological diversity of God's creation, for human beings to degrade the integrity of the earth by causing changes in its climate, by stripping the earth of its natural forests, or destroying its wetlands, for human beings to contaminate the earth waters, its land, its air, its life. These are sins. We are considering the ethical and spiritual aspect. Furthermore, to commit a crime against the natural world is sin against ourselves and a sin against God. So let us ask for God's mercy. Sisters and brothers, nothing unites us to God more than an act of mercy. For it is by mercy that the Lord forgives us sins and gives us the grace to practice acts of mercy in His name. To paraphrase St. James, we can say that mercy without works is dead. In our rapidly changing and increasingly globalized world, many new forms of poverty are appearing. In response to them, we need to be creative in developing new and practical forms of charitable outreach as concrete expressions of the way of mercy. The Christian life involves the practice of the traditional 7 corporal and 7 spiritual works of mercy. Obviously, human life itself and everything it embraces includes care for a common home. So may the works of mercy also include care for a common home. As a spiritual work of mercy, care for a common home calls for a grateful contemplation of God's word, which allows us to discover in each thing a teaching which God wishes to hand on to us. As a corporal work of mercy, care for a common home requires simple daily gestures which break with the logic of violence, exploitation, and selfishness, and makes itself felt in every action that seeks to build a better world. Let us pray now. O God of the poor, help us to rescue the abandoned and forgotten of this earth, who are so precious in your eyes. God of love, show us our place in this world as channels of your love for all the creatures of this earth. God of mercy, may we receive your forgiveness and convey your mercy throughout our common home. Praise be to you. Amen.
Thank you, Father Felix, for putting us in such a receptive place. Your message of mercy is so important to us as we journey in solidarity with our common home, sharing our experiences and affirming the efforts of each other as persons of mercy. Now let us explore how we have continued to deepen our personal and communal ecological conversions. There was a grand gathering of notable speakers, religious life, unreligious life, biblical perspectives, living interculturally, and interreligious dialogue. Opportunities for sharing in which 850 superior generals gathered in Rome for a grand event. And during this time, I was asked to talk about our campaign, Sowing Hope for the Planet, and talk about a commitment on the environment. And the highlight of that presentation was about what the sisters have been doing around the world to care for the environment, to listen to the cry of the poor and the cry of the earth through the inspiration of Laudato Si. And that video is available on YouTube in many languages, including Japanese and Arabic. So we have made a commitment for their website to have our communication to be in 6 languages. There was a meeting then with the 36 constellations around the world. Now the constellations are the way that UISG has grouped the sister members. So really to look at how we can be effective ministers to the people around the globe in a way that we can connect with one another. The USG then came back to the Assembly Hall to present these commitments, which had previously been thought through by the superior generals, to think about an area that they could make a difference in sowing hope for the planet. They shared those at the constellations and then in the gathering at the Assembly Hall. Several were able to share those commitments. And you could see amongst the members, smiles on faces, and these were greeted with applause of appreciation and a commitment to go forth and make a difference in the world as sowing hope, as prophets of hope. And these commitments now are what are determining our plans for the coming year. And I'd like to share broadly what these are. We do have them all written. These will be reviewed. There will be conversations with the constellations to have a periodic review of how we are progressing, because in 3 years, reports will be given about how we were able to actualize these concrete commitments that were made at this assembly. So one of the areas that came up very strongly was to have a contact person for each congregation that would be aware of the news, new items on the website, or anything we would hope to communicate to the congregations. Now we communicate with everyone that seeks information from us, but the contact person is responsible to do the communication for the whole congregation. They ask for formation resources, so we will look at developing a developed program around some theological aspects, and these information will be coming in the future. There will be a PowerPoint on the website to help bring aboard those people who are becoming new to the campaign, to give them an idea of what this is all about, kind of an introductory piece. The question was asked, how do we begin to educate our members around advocacy issues, or how to involve local authorities? So you want to see here some pictures here that are on our website, so you can go there in the section on advocacy and also doing deeper understanding of what Laudato Si is by going to the resources of the website. Another area was looking at lifestyles, looking at energy waste. What are we doing with plastic bags? You know, what are we doing for the environment that shows that we care for the environment? Concrete actions. Here are some photos of some of our religious communities cleaning up areas in a family style sort of way, having even sanctuaries for birds, or even taking tours around the waterways. So again, these are available on the website. Another area that they wanted to explore this year is divestment in fossil fuels and reinvestment in alternative energies. And our speaker from Global Catholic Climate Movement will say some things about this. So again, going back to our theme, it's not only about giving up, but what it is that we want to give to. So that's a very important link to be made. There are some opportunities coming up this year that we want to help people celebrate. Now again, let me say that the Superior Generals were asked to choose one area. So don't be feeling I have to do all of these things. One, although many chose more than one, but we are offering these services to you so that you have an opportunity to be as involved as you would like to be. So one of the areas coming up in September is the season of creation, and the theme for this year is biodiversity is God's gift. You will hear more about this, but the Synod on the Amazon, New Pathways for the Church and for an Ecological Integral Perspective is going to happen here in October, although the people in the Pan-American area have been, or Pan-Amazonian area have been very busy, and you will hear about that. There will be the 5th anniversary celebration of Earth Day, our mother, Sister Earth. So we will be having a number of opportunities for you to celebrate that day as well, and that will be in April. Laudato Si, can we believe it? We'll be celebrating its 5th anniversary, and these are some of the days that are being chosen by the Dicastery of Integral Human Development. And we will be finding ways to bring that to the fore and to celebrate that in 2020. This grand document that has reached not only Catholics, Christians, it's ecumenical, it's interreligious, it's around the globe. So this will be a fantastic celebration. So to sum up then, the experience of the Superior Generals in May, and then bringing this to their constellations, and also bringing it back to their congregations, to their sisters, to all the ways in which they have influence. But this would say it for us. The UISG commitment is to both personal and communal conversion, to move forward together in an orchestrated and coordinated response, in listening to the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor, to go forth as instruments of prophetic hope in the heart of the world. And this was greeted with applause. So after the UISG event, later on in May, there was the meeting of the major superiors of men at Arachia, an assembly of a little over 100. And their theme for this day was care of creation. And you can see there at the top some photos of us who helped plan that day and also gave presentations for that day. Father Juan, who is next to me on as I face the left, is a person who was involved in the Spanish promoters group. Father Joshram is from the Dicastery of Integral Human Development, has a background in theology, creation, ecology. He was there to present a theological framework for dealing with creation. And Father Felix then spoke about our office, the Justice, Peace, Integrity of Creation works, so to invite the men to be involved in those as well. And then I had the privilege of presenting our campaign of Sowing Hope for the Planet. And as the men heard that, there was really a positive response to wanting to join that campaign. So as one said, why not join something that this is good? But they didn't have time to make the commitments. You know, as you know, we have been looking at this all year. They will make their commitments in November, and so we will have a better understanding of what that commitment would be like. But as always, as we continue to keep track of the data and the work that's being done, we will be able to hold together data that would be representative of UISG and USG, so that when we are asked at meetings, what is the voice of the sisters or what is the voice of the male religious, we can be able to give that with real credibility. So moving on then, we have 3 speakers for the session turning about the constellations and also about the global Catholic climate movement. Sister Ireneti Inés Orenzetti, she's a Franciscan sister of Our Lady of Aparecida, and she will be joining us the early hours of the morning in Brazil. Now, Sister Antonetta Papa, Filial de Maria Missionary in Rome, is in South America. She's at a meeting at Salem for the Bishops' Conference of Latin America. So I will be presenting for her an experience that we shared in Rome. And Cecilia Delgado will be speaking on behalf of the global Catholic climate movement. So that will be the lineup that you will be experiencing this morning. So a little bit about Sister Arianeta. So why would she be chosen to speak? She's the president of the Religious Conference of Mato Grosso do Sul. She's the coordinator of Caritas and a member of Caritas in Brazil, Caritas in Manaus. She's lived 8 years in the Amazonian area and has worked with indigenous people and also with the people who live on the waterfront. She's worked to defend the human dignity, human life, worked on issues related to the environment, deforestation, pollution, water exports, mining, agribusiness, really conscientizing the communities about the problems and about what can be done to make a difference. She's worked with experts and other religious communities. So with that, please, Sister Arieta, share with us what has been going on in your constellation, with your congregation in our country, Brazil. Sister.
Então, na verdade, morei por um bom tempo na região amazônica, fazendo trabalho pelo governo federal, chamado Talher, um trabalho de organização das comunidades ribeirinhas, sobre a questão do meio ambiente, sobre a geração. Lá nós tínhamos um trabalho intercongregacional, fui transferida para o centro-oeste do Brasil, e ali sim meu trabalho foi mais na organização com os povos indígenas. A vida religiosa do Mato Grosso do Sul e da Amazônia, nós Temos a grande preocupação de trabalhar na formação de lideranças para a preservação do meio ambiente. Falo hoje junto com outras religiosas do Brasil e formamos a USP brasileira um trabalho de comprometimento.
A work of the commitment, the work together with the people. We have here the publications of our congregations, contributions about the presence in Bolivia, where we was working also on the Amazon regions with the indigenous people, and also on the Mato Grosso south side. And those things we try to free some sisters for the coordinations for the REPAM project. And also for the missionary animations. You will see for the presentations. You'll see one sister dressed with we'll have in the presentation the presence of the indigenous people, the seminar and the young people also, more than 200 people, young people, indigenous. And also we do the agriculture family. And also we do take care for the nature. About our constellations, we'll try to bring all those things for our presentations. We work in the Porto Alegre Archdiocese about the environment, also how we can take care of our culture. And also we work with the lay persons to spread the culture. We have also the assembly or the plenary. How the congregation work with the religious life. We have also the theologian faculty, where we work with the coordinator of REPAM about the Laudato Si thematic, and we work also together with some people for the mining, people from Amazon, where we do the exploitation of water, and also we try to discover what the religious life is doing. So we do the pastoral earth together with the indigenous people. We do also many other studies. Also, we are trying to select also the garbage. So we are teaching people how they can do separate the garbage, plastic. So the garbage could be something good because some people living for those materials. We have also meeting about the deep work, how to live according to the gospel, the interreligiosity, with the presence of many religious people. And also we work with the politician people, so we are working with the many people. We brought also the Laudato Si studies. In the indigenous people, Ribeirinhos area, and also there are many movements, many associations who are working and helping together. We work and then we do network together. So there are many networking. Our problem is not the so our mission is how we can work deeply about the social problem. We work also on the diocese of Cassis. We work also with the indigenous people, helping them in their activities, daily activities. The diocese of we do have also many indigenous people in that diocese. So we work together also defending and present how they can protect the environment. We do have people, so lawyers, people working as a lawyer, because they can help also on their problem against the oppression of the Brazilian government. Our aim is to be everywhere, and the Amazon is to work with the poor people, especially indigenous people. So we wanted to tell everyone that the life, religious life, is those who are oppressed, poor people especially. And our team is divided in commissions. Celebration with the Ribeirinhos, studying the environment and also how we can defend the dignity, the human dignity. We do have also experience with some women. It's better that we know that in many parishes, we do have many religious women. We do have also, we're asking for the donations family also, because there are many sisters working for educations. There are many regions where people discuss about the problem, they can't say nothing sometimes. We do meeting with the people, and we try to talk with them. And also we try to explain them how we work and how we can work about the garbage also, how we can select garbage. There are some parts we can call it gincana. The main campaign that we are doing, we are talking about don't produce the plastic and don't sell plastic stuffs. Because there are many people selling plastics, but now we are doing the campaign to avoid the plastics. So to try to find the organic bag. And also to produce a bag for collections, not buying those plastic stuffs in the market. Those things are being done in the Amazon regions. So there are people working, trying to transform the plastics into another materials. We do have many things that have been made from plastics materials. So they also organize some notes how they can work and they change the plastic. They are also itinerant team. We do have a small space, yes. So our evangelization, we do working together. We do also share in the biblical words. There are many theologians people also working together, so those can read and explain the Bible, our people. In the Amazonian regions, we do have the itinerant team, religious people living together. We have also a meeting with the sisters who work with the indigenous people and the riverine populations. And those work have been made with the religious conference. In our diocese in Bolivia, we do have one sister who's doing the repound work. She's working for the diocese, but is working directly for the Bolivia, especially for Amazon regions. And she now is here doing meeting about the Synod and also about the Laudato Si. And also she's working, teaching people to avoid the violence because there is many problems. Violence problems always happen. So now we have the articulations about Bolivia. So we do work also about the environment, about the habitation space.
Oh my, sister, you have been doing wonderful things.
Irmã, você está fazendo muita coisa boa. Estás envolvida em muitas.
I know that you had prepared a PowerPoint, which you didn't show, but maybe we can put that
Ok, posso continuar?
on the Sowing Hope for the Planet website
Em
as a
seguida, nós
resource. That would be wonderful for everyone else to really enjoy, because it's very clear from
Ok.
what you
Então,
have shared.
na Diocese de Campo Grande, Mato Grosso, no caso,
So in the Diocese of Campo Grosso, there are human being violence. So we do have one sister who's working in that area also, who's working with indigenous people. There are 4 sisters who are working in that regions, who are working the evangelization side. Another one is working for the commissions. Another one working for the indigenous people. So another one also trying to study the history about the indigenous people, the integrity of our creations, and it is articulated with the social movement and also connected with the document Laudato Si. Those things have been done in the south de Mato Grosso and the north de Mato Grosso. We do have many people have been killed. Many indigenous people have died. There are also another work also to defend the land, to rescue the land. So we do work also for the plant the tree. We do have also the biblical study, how the people can understood, how we can work with the indigenous people. That group have been made with a huge group. So we work with the Repam in the Amazon. Irmã, tem muita coisa que nós gostaríamos.
And maybe my suggestion is, you know, with the website that we have, Sowing Hope for the Planet, some of the programs that you have been describing would be wonderful to be placed on that website.
A trabalho.
Yeah, and I think as we go on and listen to some of the other presentations and the questions from our group, it may even give you more ideas about what needs to be done. But thank you for the tremendous work that you and the sisters are really doing there in the Amazonian area, particularly in Brazil. God bless you, really. Tremendous, tremendous work. Thank you. So taking the spirit that Sister so well described for us, the tremendous work that they're doing in Brazil with so many different types of persons needing assistance but being loved dearly. I'd like to take you now to Rome, because we've been asked also to be very involved in the Synod process. And so there have been meetings in Rome to decide what it is that we can do. And I have here Sister Antonetta Papa. Here she is with one of our groups, really facilitating this process here in Rome. And she is the Superior General as well, the Filia di Maria Missionaries here in Rome. This synod on the Amazon, which they're going to put for you to see, is new pathways for the church and for an integral ecology. That's why the synod is so important for all of us. We need to have a deeper understanding of where the people are for the world, for Brazil, for ourselves. There is a PowerPoint, but obviously it's not being shown at this point. Okay, here it is. Okay. There is a new document being out now. It was released yesterday, the document that they will be using for the Synod. It's in Spanish and Italian. It's available on the websites for UISG, Sowing Hope for the Planet, and our JPIC website as well. Again, we will be thinking about that, reflecting on what the document has to say for us now in the world. When we speak of the Pan-Amazonian area, it really is 9 countries, but more than 60% of the Amazonian forest is in Brazil. That's why it's so important. But we have to know, as Sister was mentioning other countries, it's because they're important to this concept. Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador, Colombia, Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana. These are all 9 countries. When we speak of the Pan-Amazonian area, these are the countries that we're concerned about. So Sister mentioned RAPOM organizing themselves in the Pan-Amazonian area. It's the network for the church in those countries. And something new was been asked of RAPOM. RAPOM was asked to come to Rome and help organize us, to facilitate an organization, so that we could have what you would call the tent of the martyrs, or maybe we would say a common home, in which we could be praying, being reflecting, having different events during the time of the Synod, so that we can be accompanying those persons who are at the Synod, the representatives of that Synod, in a prayerful solidarity sense, which is really important. And also that members from that Synod could find a place to stay, to have prayer and reflection as well. So the question that Sister referred to is also the question that we looked at for our meeting. And the question was this. It was the only question specifically for religious that was in the preparatory document that Sister Arieta referred to. And the question was, in what ways can concentrated life and its charisms contribute to the building up of a church with an Amazonian face? So in a sense, what has been the periphery now has become the center for us. So going back to Laudato Si number 9, intending to the ethical and spiritual roots of the environment, we are looking at how can we be liberated from fear, greed, and compulsion? What is that dynamic in our religious life that can help heal, give new insight, give us a change to go forward, to liberate us from these qualities of fear, greed, and compulsion? And another area referred to in that number 9 is also, as Christians, we are called to accept the world as a sacrament of communion. We are a global community. We work with one another. And here is the piazza in Rome, where a gathering met with Greta Thunberg, who was a young teenager, 16, really helping to galvanize the youth and adults around the concern, the crisis of climate change. So again, we are global neighbors with one another, and we bring this to the table for the Amazonian Synod. Here we are gathered in the group, doing some planning here in Rome to raise awareness on the issues, to think about ways to providing reflective opportunities, to really become aware of what this indigenous spirituality is about and how it speaks to us, gain some deeper theological understandings, and honor the martyrs from environmental causes. As Sister mentioned so clearly, Sister Arieta, that there are many martyrs in that country from their causes of dealing with the environment. So we went together and started to plan events. A prayer vigil by youth is going to be planned already at the beginning. So we see the youth, the energy really saying, this is our church, this is our world, and we want a future. We're going to help create it. Missionary experience, because this is a month for missionaries, looking at the role of women in the church, and the Synod document had asked to look at that. How are women being treated? Trafficking issues and the whole ecological, environmental issues. I wanted to show you this place in Santa Maria Traspertina. This is the place of reflection. So when you're thinking, what's going on in Rome, you can think of this space and think many things will be happening there. This will be our place for prayer, not the only space, because there'll be other meeting areas, but this will be a sacred space that we are creating. It's run by the Carmelites. Reflecting and sharing on Laudato Si and religious life, as Sister Arieta said, what is the new message for us going forward in contemporary times as religious? The extraordinary celebration of missions during October 2 years ago, Pope Francis, before we announced this upcoming synod, he said we want to mark this anniversary of the missions societies, and there's many anniversary dates on that will be celebrated here, but we have integrated now what's going on with our mission societies. I believe there are 13 of the different religious communities here in Italy, but what is that experience? What has that been for them? And we're thinking not only of Brazil or the Pan-Amazonian areas, but around the world, because we're asking the world to somehow find a place to celebrate what's going on here in Rome and in the Pan-Amazonian areas. The Tent of the Martyrs, one of the ones that will be featured will be Sister Dorothy Stang, that she in Para had given her life. It was over issues related to the land. She is on the first stage of canonization, a celebration of her life, but she's not the only one. There's a Father Ezekiel that also will be honored, and many others that our communities will raise forward and see these are lives that have inspired people to stand up for causes that are important, and we are being able to move forward because of the commitments and the suffering that these people have made. Sister Dorothy's community is here. We'll be bringing witnesses of Sister Dorothy's life to be able to share with us. So, as I said, these meeting times are very special. Human trafficking, your sister mentioned, is a concern. Poverty is such a place to find a breeding ground for human trafficking and people that have ideas that are susceptible to dreams that are impossible. So what can do about human trafficking? Talitha Kum, of course, will be giving us some insights about that. The impact of transnational corporations, as Sister mentioned, about the mining areas. You know, we're talking about all of creation. So again, how can we interconnect all the world around concerns of areas that are devastated by mining, but whose products we also enjoy? Is there a way that everyone can benefit rightly and justly with what's happening with resources? Listening to the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor. As Sister mentioned, you know, the stories that are coming from the Amazonian area, the stories around the globe. What are similarities? As people would say, the indigenous concerns are the same. It doesn't matter what country they're in. So we need to be looking at what are similarities, how can we work together to really make a difference? And we must not forget the beauty of the biodiversity in the Amazonian area. You know, it's the place where you can find so many elements and just as gifts. So God is present in this loving environment as well. So we want to make sure that we're enjoying everything here. And there'll be a calendar of events to be able to share so that we know what's happening where, so we can have this galactic feeling that we are really moving from one place to the other, and we can share in the spirit and the inspiration of this minute. So as we think about giving and receiving, divesting and investing, I'd like to turn to Cecilia de Alagil from the Global Catholic Climate Movement, who manages that area for GCCM, as it's finally called, also does projects around Europe, has herself been experienced in working with bishops' conference, religious congregations, so knowing their needs as well, she will be asked to share what's going on with the Global Catholic Climate Movement and the efforts of really dealing with the root causes, ethical and spiritual issues. So with that, please, Cecilia.
Buongiorno.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting us on behalf of all the movement. Thank you, Sister Sheila, for your support, your constant support to our movement. You are crucial in the work we do. Thank you for inviting us. I really appreciate what you said, Sister Sheila, that we are about to share good news. I really like to see, a positive attitude. I'll bring you good news. That's what I want to do. Even if some of the news are to be read in order to listen to the cry of the poor. So we need to be able to recognize good news. First piece of good news, we have a Pope that, as Saint Francis did, mentions humbleness is a very important prophetic voice. I apologize, I'm not showing you the PowerPoint presentation. So first piece of good news, we have such a great gift. The Pope that we now have is a shepherd leading us, guiding us. On Friday, he met with all companies, with CEOs of all companies, and he clearly said that we are facing a climate emergency and we need to take bold action to avoid injustice for the poor and for future generations. And as David with Goliath, the Pope is helping us to focus on the future generations. Our sons, our nieces, our nephews won't have to pay the price of what we are doing now. As we see now, young people demand change. I'm saying Goliath against David because we are facing oil companies, mining companies, and as Sister Antonietta said before, we are fighting against oil companies, big companies, and sometimes we feel powerless, but if we work together, we can truly make a difference. As we heard before, wonderful initiatives are taking place. You are teaching people how to select garbage. You are undertaking wonderful initiatives that are crucial. At the same time, since we are a movement, we are trying to build networks. As Sister Sheila said, we are trying to build networks for an ecological conversion, an individual and communal conversion, as we read in Laudato Si. So we are trying to build communities, networks beyond borders, beyond associations, local communities, dioceses, lay groups. We are all together. So, second piece of good news, as we said before, I won't go into details, but on September the 1st, the season of creation will start. We talked yesterday we had this important meeting. What is the season of creation? It's our opportunity to act, and I thank Father Felix for the prayer. He underlined the importance of mercy. I really like the edition document of the Mercy Jubilee. I really like this document. The Pope told us that we have a great opportunity to change our life, to fight against evil. It's the time that we have to listen to the cry of poor people, innocent people. It's our opportunity to act, to promote human dignity. If we continue this way, we won't change things. So we have a positive time. This is our opportunity to be open to joy. This is the season of creation. Today, the dicastery will make available a resource to prepare for the season of creation. You'll find a website in different languages with all the initiatives. That's a website of ecumenical group. And on September the 1st, we'll have the World Day of Prayer for Creation. The season of creation will be very important, and it will help us to have a church which is open, which is ready to celebrate creation. Laudato Si circles will be organized. So these are the examples of last year, the initiatives we undertook last year. And thank you to all of you for your work. We can care for creation always, but finding a specific time, it's not always easy. It's not a liturgical time, but it's a specific time, a specific opportunity that we have to do it. Second piece of good news, we have young people who are full of energies, young people who are reminding us what is justice among generations. We have young people involved giving up, social media and calling for action. Greta, our movement is supporting the work of young people, and we ask you to support young people. I have just been to Brussels. We have been there for one day. We had one day meeting with all the bishops, the Stellam, and we have been reflecting together, and the president of the assembly said that we are supporting the striking everywhere in the world, and he said that if we do not support young people now, in a few years we may have forms of ecological terrorism. This expression really moved me, touched me. So the opportunity we have now is important. Of course, we have different opinions, insights. I got the opportunity to talk with people with different opinions of the one that I have, but what matters is to work together, unity in diversity, to work together with other organizations. So we are called to face this emergency And we are called to do it together with the students in our Catholic schools. We need to encourage students to participate, to get involved, but at the same time, it's important to consider long-term actions. Strikes are not enough. We need to promote education, formation meetings for our young people. We know that politicians need to be supported by concrete initiatives. So it's important to have a discernment about it. How many times did we organize raising activities? We are called to form, to educate, to be active citizens of the world. And we are open to your ideas. For example, we ask to pray the rosary on Fridays in your communities. There are different ways of collaborating, of participating, but what matters is having a network, especially in the Amazon area. This is the example. This is the last strike that we had. It was September the 20th. Many of you were present. We did it in Rome. Next strike will be, climate strike will be on September the 20th, before the UN meeting on climate. There will be climate strikes everywhere, so get ready. We have another good news. We have the so-called Laudato Si generation for youth and young adults. So if you have if you know groups of young people, please join us. Please let us know, because we have a group of young people organizing activities, working everywhere in the world. And it's an example of intergenerational solidarity. In May, I participated in a strike, and it was such a positive experience. I felt a strong call from young people. So it's an intergenerational invitation. Yes, young people are striking, but us, we are called to participate. No matter the age, no matter the backgrounds, we are called to participate. You can find here all the data. You have the website. We have talked about divesting from fossil fuels. Many of you had already committed to do it. Many of you are already planning to divest over the next 5 years. So many of you have decided to divest from fossil fuels over the next 5 years. Many of you are taking up this commitment. Daniela and I have many tools that you can use. We have many tools that you can use, that we can use to accompany you. So please do not hesitate to call us. I have worked on many campaigns on many different topics around the world. But believe me, this campaign is the most effective one. Please remember, today we are called to act locally. What can we do on a daily basis? What can we do in our daily life? But at the same time, how can we act long term? How can we change the mindset that we have now? How can we listen to the cry of the poor? Witnessing is not enough. We need concrete solutions to problems. And we know that we have to change our mindset, as the Pope said last Friday. Because if we do not do so, we are being unjust. To this year, there's something new. We know that you are interested in funds so that you can really make an impact, a difference on shareholders. So we have decided to accept this idea. And our main goal is to participate and make a concrete difference. We can't really hide behind it. We can't really use it as an excuse, because these companies, these lobbies, have so much power. So we ask you to divest, and on September the 10th, there will be a meeting in South Africa on divesting. It will be before the season of creation, before the Synod. Why in South Africa?
Very briefly.
I go too close. Ok,
yeah,
perfect.
perfecto.
Vado a chiudere. È caduto grazie alla campagna di...
So it was all possible because of the campaigning against the apartheid. We have already said so much about the Synod. As you know, we have a website in many languages. You'll find all the information you desire. We have a program for Laudato Si animators, and on July the 8th, next session will start in Spanish, Portuguese, and English. So you have the email here if you want more information. We have Laudato Si circles because we want to accompany you. We want to accompany religious orders. Laudato Si circles are local communities, are groups of people who want to commit. They receive a monthly reflection in all languages. So it's circles rooted in prayers. We have local chapters rooted in faith, and we have working groups. And the Catholic climate movement is us. We can only work together. So here you'll find a list of working groups. You are all invited to participate and give your contribution. Thank you very much.
Much, Cecilia, for sharing all of the work being done by the Global Catholic Climate Movement. The basic programs that she mentioned, we will also have listed on the Sowing Hope for the Planet website, because they are our partners, and these are opportunities that you can do locally and globally, because we are about making those connections. So thank you for your energy and enthusiasm, Cecilia, and the work, the tremendous work that you're doing. So now is a chance for those of you who have been listening to the webinar to ask questions or give comments to anything that's been said or raise concern. Whatever is in your heart and in your mind, please give a gesture. And Sister Patrizia hasn't come there yet. She's married, so it won't happen. Patrizia will repeat your question so that everyone can understand what it is that you're asking or what you're commenting on. So raise your hand, give some kind of indication, put in the chat box, some indication that you would like to be recognized.
You can ask your question in the chat area, or you can ask the flow, and we can unmute your micro and you can comment or ask questions. Sister Jacqueline, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the discussions, and I'm glad that I have taken part in it. I'm just trying to think like on the issue of the environment and ecology. It is really an integral part of our life. And as religious, we should look forward to making an impact to the environment. And how do we impact it? I was just trying to reflect on it, and like, if we as religious can come together and say, part of our formation program that we must inculcate both in the initial and ongoing formation is to look at the issue of the environment and the ecological. I know in the Franciscan setting, it's part of it, but could we take it as a religious undertaking and look at it in a way that we have to do and really make a difference? And it's for the glory of God. I mean, if we can take it as part of our formation program, it will make really an impact. Because as we talk, the sensitization will go on, will take part left and right, but to some, it may not be part of the system. Could we look at it in that direction? Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Jacqueline. We do have a formation program for formators here that was started last year. And that was also the question raised. We should have a segment that would deal with the environment. And so we need to be looking at the theological understanding and also how it relates to religious life. And that should be something that we should develop and share. So thank you for, and the Superior Generals also said what you just voiced. So thank you for raising that up again and affirming that very important need.
Sister Nonata, you have the floor.
Posso falar?
Puedes.
Ok. A minha pergunta é para a irmã Iriette.
So my question is for Sister Iriette.
Ela colocou muito bem toda essa questão que está sendo feita com os indígenas e com outras populações do Brasil. Irmã, eu gostaria de saber como é que está a realidade. Como é que está a realidade de Brumadinho? Porque nós sabemos que no Brasil tem muitas outras barragens, então corre o risco também de transbordarem, né?
There are many problems in Brumadinho about the environment. How are you working about those only problems? I would like to know something about also your congregation. What are you doing about those all problems, about the environment? For now, Brumadinho, that what happened in Brumadinho wasn't incident. Most people was waiting for that. So they do many things even without asking the document. There are many people trying to privatize everything. They try to take many lands from the people. So our movement is trying to help the people who are living in Brazil. That is our role. So we need to work also with the political. So Brumadinho now we're still working with those problems, but sometimes there something is coming as good problem, but causes also bad things. So they still doing many exploitation also. they still also working with the people from there who aren't paying good money. So the Brazilian government is not helping for the education people. We can see those things as a Brazilian people, but we are not saying that we can't receive foreigner people, but those people don't destroy our country. If they came here in Brazil, it's better if we can work together.
Thank you, Sister Rita.
Thanks for this opportunity, for this information. I wish to add that the destruction of the Amazon is not an issue only for the Latin Americans, but for all of us, because of the ripple effect and because we have our forests all over the world affected. Sister Carol.
That is so true. We talk about solidarity. It's really recognizing where some of the same problems exist around the globe and where we need to be working together. So it's an opportunity to highlight the connections that are there. And as a universal church, use the opportunity to make a voice, a strong voice of areas that we need to be addressing as we care for our earth and for one another. Thank you, Carol.
I can't hear very well. So what we need for those people who came in Brazil, we need, if when you came here, so we need those people when they came here, we have to avoid the traffic, human trafficking, and because also I'm working with those ladies also here, and there are many people trying to do many things, also changing about the food. So we have to work to defend the human trafficking. There are many foreigners, missionaries working here also. There are many, and also big projects. Has to be sustainable also. They have to accept it before the Brazilian situations. And also, if they came here in Brazil, they have also to accept also to work together. Gracias. Thank you. Alguma pergunta?
Bom
Não,
dia.
a irmã Cristina.
Bom dia, Chris aqui. Hello in London. Thank you for everything and all the work that went into it. Two things. Before Pope Francis said about everything is interconnected, Chief Seattle said exactly the same thing, and I'm sure people know all about that, but it's worth reading his text again, because it is the most beautiful text. It comes to mind. And the second thing is there a way of the contact persons in each country getting in touch with one another? Because I think, as you pointed out, or somebody said, you've got to think locally. But if people can work together locally, then that can be fed in to the whole network. And I agree with everything that has been said. Thank you very much indeed. Okay.
Thank you, sister, for bringing that up. That's what we want to try to do, is have a way of interconnecting those persons who are the contact people for the congregations, but also very clearly with the commitments that came from the constellations, also to be looking at what's happening in the different countries. So that's what we're really about, is how can we find ways of interconnecting, as well as we are hampered with some privacy laws, you know, that we have to make sure people know that we are sharing the information. But the purpose of the contact person is not only for the congregation, but we have to begin to find ways, as the statement came from the plenary, the assembly meeting of the UISG, we have to orchestrate these voices, coordinate these voices, so it's loud enough that we are giving a prophetic message. And who best to do this than those of us in religious congregations? So thank you for that.
Sister Julie, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you. I would really like to encourage the religious congregations that are participating today and those that are not, to really use the full power of our schools. Most congregations, lots of congregations run schools. And I think we underestimate the power of transformation and change that can happen in the schools. So if we can think as religious congregations to integrate Laudato Si, the principles of it, in our religious education in our schools, in the various subjects that relate to the environment, whether that's the geography, science, agriculture, all the things that we teach, and do it at all levels, from preschool to primary to secondary to university, because we have to help the young people sustain the energy and the passion that they have when they do their strikes and their marches, to sustain that by educating. And I think if we would, as religious congregations, almost pledge to do that, I think we would have a significant effect that's almost, unimaginable. Because just think about the thousands, the hundreds of children that we interact with in our schools. So that is what I would like to share.
That's a wonderful challenge. And actually, we have been approached with the website to try to have that be a central place for the schools, just to go there for information. We know that some schools have developed such programs as you're talking about. And so this is a way that we need to be able to connect. This is a new asceticism. It's about not just giving up, but what are we doing for something? So thank you for raising that and affirming that effort, and encouraging those who are listening to this webinar and who will be listening to it at a later time to do just what you have been suggesting. Thank you. So as we bring this webinar to a close, I really want to thank Father Felix for beginning the whole session with the eighth work of mercy. It's both spiritual and corporal, to setting really a tone for us to begin the session. For Sister Arieta from Brazil, getting up so early and sharing so marvelously all of the work that's being done in that country, but in other of the Pan-Zamian areas. Sister Antonetta, who helped facilitate the session that we had in Rome, and the sharing that I did about the possibilities and events that we are planning. And Cecilia, certainly for bringing to life the Global Catholic Climate Movement and all the work that they have done and will continue to do in so many areas around the globe. And of course, our translators and our UISG people, Patrizia and Sister Florence, who have made this webinar possible. Please know that we have a newsletter through the Sowing Hope for the Planet. And for you to now get it, you need to be able to subscribe to it. So going forward, because of privacy issues and all of that, people need to ask for that newsletter going forward. We already have a list of over 450 that have been receiving and will receive the newsletter. It's once a month, so it lets you know what things are available, what are some of the events, some of the videos that you may want to look at. So it's a way of helping the coordinators, the contact persons for the different congregations to have something that should be shared. Again, we will be prayerfully looking at the new document that will be used to kind of focus the energy of the Synod, available on UISG website, the Sowing Hope for the Planet website, as well as our Justice and Peace, Integrity of Creation website. So God bless you all, and thank you much, and hope you join us October 16th for the next webinar, which will certainly have the flavor of the Synod, but not just Rome, not just Panazomia, but around the globe. So thank you very much. God bless you.